So, you guys, without further ado, we'll go ahead and get this started. I'm Dr. Maureen Hayes from Galveston, Texas, and I'm joined by the regulars, Jim and Ann Glenn from San Antonio, Texas. As you know, Jim is our big money man, and Ann is our beautiful personal trainer and nutritionist. And of course, we've got Dr. Lee Osler from Washington State, who is a dentist extraordinaire, has incredible credentials, has written several books on redox science, and you can find them all at redoxmatters.com. And tonight we have a fan favorite with us. Gosh, we are so excited. If you were at convention, then you got to see Hunter in action behind the scenes. What did they call it? Like I forget what it was, like a sneak peek with
Hunter Unplugged.
Hunter Unplugged. It was amazing. So, and if you weren't, then you're really going to get a treat tonight because he's going to be spilling the tea. We got some new information for you that is just going to set you on fire. So, Hunter Dean, for those of you who don't know who he is, he's a senior vice president of operations and research and development. And he works with Lee and myself on the medical professionals board. So, Hunter, come on and tell us, go ahead and give us a little bit of your background. We never get tired of that story about you sneaking in with pretending to be a temp, and then taking over the whole place.
Yeah.
Give us a short rendition of that, and then we'll get to the meat. So,
Hey, yeah, sounds great. Thank you, Maureen. It's great to be here with everybody. It's always a pleasure to be able to talk about redox with people that are excited about it. So, Maureen, thank you for the introduction. My name's Hunter Dean. Again, I work for Asea in the R&D, the Operations Production Department. I, perhaps like some of you, was a skeptic when I first found Asea. And I found Asea by accident. My wife was going through her master's program. We were paying for it out of pocket. I was already working a job, but the money was running out. So I needed to go find something else part-time in order to get her through her last 6 months of school. And then we were going to move back to Alaska, where I'm from. And I was going to work in the oil industry. My background's chemical engineering. So I grew up there. It seemed like a logical step for us. So I went to a temp agency. I said, hey, I just need 6 months of work. They said, well, there's this place called Asea. I think they make fancy water or something like that. But they need a maintenance technician. I was like, well, I'm an engineer. I can go fix some machines for the next 6 months and then move back and do the oil thing. So I interviewed with, at the time, the COO was Scott Aldred. And I'm pretty sure he was desperate to fill the position because he didn't interview me for a very long time. And it ended up with, hey, can you start Monday? I said, yes, I can start Monday. We didn't talk anything about my background. So I showed up to work Monday and I immediately started looking at the technology going, salt water from Salt Lake City, Utah. I don't know about this. But as I started looking into the science, I really began to see, oh, hey, there's some credibility here. These people take this seriously. They do university research. They cross their T's, they dot their I's. And I began to look at the manufacturing system and made some suggestions to Scott on how it could be done better. And he thought that I was a spy from doTERRA trying to steal all of the secrets away, because there's no way a temp from the maintenance department should be able to talk about this technology at all. I then explained, hey, I'm a chemical engineer. That's kind of why I'm asking, is I think that there's some things we can do. He approved the projects, and I've been here for now almost 8 years. So it's been a great opportunity. Asea has an amazing culture. All of the executives truly live the ethos of the company, and are trying to truly be a force for good in the world, and that's what's kept me here.
Well, I love that. And you know what? There's nothing, if you guys have not had the treat of going through the production facility with Hunter, you have to do it. It's absolutely amazing. He gives you all of the details on how it's made, all of the science behind it. I never get tired of it. I've probably been on the tour with you, 10 times at least, Hunter. And Hunter is always saying you could probably give it yourself, but I love the way he goes into all of the detail. He just has such an incredible understanding of the science, which can sometimes be a little hard to grasp. But Hunter, why don't you, if you don't mind, why don't you explain what the redox signaling molecules are for people who are on here who are new? And then maybe we can get into a little bit of the science, some of the old science and some of the new science. I don't know how much you can share, but I'm hoping you can share a lot. So
Yes, certainly. So redox signaling molecules are native to the body. They're made within the mitochondria of the cell. It's how your body communicates at the cellular level. Again, cells don't have little brains where they get to make decisions about what they need to do. They're told what to do with these redox signaling molecules. These molecules are tiny, they're high energy, they're fleeting, and they're unstable. Your body needs these to survive. Every single pathway, every single function relies upon these redox signaling molecules, that energy that comes from these redox signaling molecules. But as we age, as we're exposed to external stressors, the number of these redox signaling molecules present within your system decreases. And that is what begins to cause imbalance, right? So these stressors that we're exposed to every single day knock us off balance. Redox signaling molecules help us get into balance. But if we run out of redox signaling molecules relative the amount of stress that we're exposed to, our body falls out of balance. So what Asea has done, the real breakthrough of Asea's technology, is being able to stabilize these molecules and put them into products in a shelf-stable form that allows oral supplementation and topical application. So our product, Asea Redox Supplement, the blue bottle that many of you know and love, and many of you are getting familiar with, is our oral supplement. You take that every single day, and that replenishes those redox signaling molecules that are made within the mitochondria of your cells. Many people recognize that mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell from biology class in high school, but they don't know that the mitochondria are making these redox signaling molecules. We supplement bioidentical redox signaling molecules to what the mitochondria makes inside of every bottle of Asea. We also offer Renew 28 and Redox Gold, which are our topical products that contain the same redox signaling molecules. So the real breakthrough of Asea is not necessarily that we've created these molecules, but that we've created a stabilized form to allow you to replenish the redox signaling molecules that you're missing because of the stress that you're exposed to and because of the aging process that happens in the body. Now, when I talk about this concept of balance and imbalance, I like to illustrate the concept of balance and imbalance and the wear and tear it causes on your body using a car. If you think about a vehicle driving down the highway, let's say I'm driving my truck down the highway and I hit a huge rock, and that rock knocks my tire out of alignment. If I go to the tire shop and have my tire realigned within 10 miles of hitting that rock, there's no accelerated wear on my tire. But if I go and drive my tire for 1,500 miles while it's unbalanced, what happens to the tread on that tire? It wears unevenly. So in our body, an imbalance over time causes wear and tear. Your redox signaling molecules are the tire shop realigning your tires to minimize that wear. But if you don't have enough redox signaling molecules in your body, it's miles and miles and miles between alignment, accelerating the wear and tear on your body. One of these forms of wear and tear on the body, and one of these forms of imbalance, these rocks in the road, so to speak, is inflammation, physiological stress. So about when was that? 2017, Torrey Labs was a study that we did that showed that there are genetic signals that are upregulated by the presence of redox signaling molecules. One of those pathways was the NRF2 pathway. The NRF2 pathway is a principal pathway that your body uses to address stress and oxidation, right? Those rocks in the road. We saw a drastic increase in NRF2 activity with cells treated with redox signaling molecules. When NRF2 expression increases, protective proteins like glutathione are created. These are bodyguards for your cells, more or less brushing rocks off the road or helping to align your tires after you've hit a rock. So we saw that in an in vitro study, right? We saw the cells that were exposed to the redox signaling molecule products were more resilient to oxidative stress and inflammation because their NRF2 pathways were signaling at a higher level. With the NRF2 research, we began to say, okay, well, let's see what we see in humans. So we contracted a study with Aspen Labs this last year, and this is what we discussed at convention not too long ago. What we found was that the NRF2 pathway was active in humans, such that inflammatory cytokines, which are basically biomarkers that you can test for in your blood, that represent inflammation in the system, right? Your entire systemic inflammation, IL-1 and IL-6. IL-1 decreased by over 80% over a 120-day period, and IL-6 decreased by over 10%. Now, because these are systemic inflammatory markers, I need to hammer home how big 80% is as a number. To be able to decrease systemic inflammation by 80% in humans in a 120-day period is an absolute massive, massive result. Again, this is the imbalance that's causing the wear and tear, and you're eliminating 80% of it, right?
Hey, Honor,
Yeah.
can you use a lot of can you go ahead and explain, if you don't mind, systemic?
Sure.
Kind of, again, you guys all understand that, not me.
Sure.
Please, thank you.
So when I say systemic, I mean the entire body, right? When I say systemic, I also mean across a ton of different systems within the body. So cardiovascular system, the lungs, the brain, the gut, the stomach, the blood, right? When I say systemic, I mean it's present in the entire body. So this systemic inflammation or systemic stress that's represented by IL-1 and IL-6 inflammatory cytokines, when you decrease that by 80%, you're decreasing to some extent a metric of all of the stress in your body, right? And again, that stress is what causes that disalignment of the wheel, right? And that stress, untreated over time, is what causes the wear of the tire, or what we could link to as disease or health conditions, or non-ideal health, right?
Hunter, let me interrupt you here for a second because you said something that's really interesting. And I love the analogy with the tire being worn because these people in this study were considered healthy. They had no chronic diseases, or, at least none that were known, no lab abnormalities, anything like that. And yet you still had an 80% decrease in inflammatory markers. So, we all know stress kills. Stress leads to all sorts of diseases, and maybe even more importantly, stress ages you. So you you look old. So decreasing inflammation in the body by 80% is a huge thing. So these people, we don't know because there was no subjective portion to this, but if they were healthy people, who knows, by decreasing that amount of inflammation in the body, what that may have kept them from experiencing down the road, just like your tire. So I'll let you get back to it.
Maureen, with what you saw in your practice, is this possible? I mean, could you ever see any other thing that you did, or maybe Lee with you with the mouth? Have you ever seen anything else do anything like this?
Yes, but not naturally like this, not where you're not
Okay.
interfering with the natural processes in the body. This is, where we
Okay,
are.
can you dig a little bit deeper into that, if you don't mind? Y'all,
Sure.
either
Uh,
of you.
I mean, yeah, we have steroids and non-steroidal anti-inflammatory medications and things like that. And let us stop right now and just say that our company is not a medical company. It's not a medical product. It's not meant to treat, cure, prevent, diagnose anything. What we're doing, as Hunter was explaining, is replenishing something with a bioidentical molecule, just replenishing and rebalancing the cells so that they're able to do their job better. And we're turning on things like enhancing the NRF2 pathways, which are for, like Hunter said, inflammation, detox, activation of antioxidants, really important things in the body. So, no, I never saw while I was practicing medicine something that you could give. But where we are right now with these molecules is where we were with bioidentical hormones 20, 30 years ago, when, we were then giving people back hormones that were identical to the ones that their body made that they might be deficient in, right? Everybody understands that concept. This is just going
Mhm.
kind of deeper. This is going to the cells, going to the very molecules. So,
Hey, if you don't, Lee, do you mind addressing, as Hunter mentioned it, Maureen just did, but I want to dig a little bit deeper when we say bioidentical, because that's a pretty big term. Could you maybe dig a little bit deeper into that?
Bioidentical just means that it's identical to what's going on in normal natural biology in terms
But
of.
this is something that's being done outside the body. How can that be possible to do something outside the body and put it back in it and it's bioidentical? That just seems impossible.
Well, yeah, it might seem that way, but it's not. The whole function of the mitochondria, as Hunter said, a main component of the functional aspect of the mitochondria is not just to produce energy or ATP, it's also producing these redox signaling molecules. And we've never really addressed those, historically until just recently, because it was a little bit of a moot point. If we were addressing them, it was because all oxidation was considered bad, and that's a high energy molecule that's stealing electrons from other proteins and molecules in the cell, causing damage, folding the proteins and creating accelerated aging. Well, what we didn't realize until recently was that the function of the mitochondria is in making these reactive oxygen species, the ROS. There's a subset of those that the cell uses to activate the switches that turn on longevity and survival genes. You have to ask the question, how does the cell or how does the body know when it's in trouble? How does it know to upregulate or turn on protective solutions in response to pollution or accelerated aging or damage or toxicity in the body? And that's the function of these switches, these pathway genes, these transcription factors. Those are all kind of almost, in a working way, of synonymous terms. But it's the cell's mechanism for sensing a problem, directing a pathway to solve it by turning the genes on in the DNA that will respond to the problem and mitigate its effects, meaning anti-aging or health promoting. And so what we're doing with this reagent that we're creating in the lab is we've developed the bioidentical, or the same functioning type molecules that the cell can use to turn on the switches that activate the survival and longevity genes in the cell. And we can do that on command. It was just by having them on board restores the cell's ability to be responsive. And that's an important thing, because there's a lot of things such as drugs, and herbs and other agents or reagents that are not subject to the body's response system. Like, you can take too much vitamin C, you can take too many herbs, you can take too many antioxidants and actually suppress the system in which these reactive molecules work. But when they're native or when they're bioidentical, we use them in the same way that we were designed. This is natural healing, because when I have more than I need, then it does not have an effect. It's reading that, and so it's very natural in that regard.
Thank you. Back to you, Hunter. So this allostatic load stuff's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, it's a huge deal. Really, when we talk about we as humans from a genetic level, we have a set point that each of us are, I get, not destined, but designed to operate at, right? The set points of our metabolism, our mitochondrial function, all are dictated by our DNA, right? There's a set point that is an optimal set point for each of us as individuals according to our DNA and our genetic code. What happens is over time, all of these stressors that we're exposed to in today's modern day, right? We have call it prehistoric DNA. How quickly does DNA change? It takes generations for changes in DNA to happen, right? And so our DNA does not evolve very quickly. How quickly does technology change? super, super fast. So the stressors that come from technology, we are maladapted, or we're not well adapted to be able to address the stressors that we're exposed to in today's modern day. We don't have a genetic code that is robust against radio waves. We don't have a genetic code that is robust against preservatives, against sweeteners, against sugars, against bad sleep, against mental stressors. All of these things that we're exposed to because of our technology and because of our population growth are stressors that we are not well equipped to deal with at the genetic level, which is why this supplementation of redox signaling molecules is so important, because we don't have sufficient redox signaling going on in our body to address the high levels of stress that we're exposed to in today's modern world.
That's a really interesting way of looking at it. I had not really thought about that. I mean, we all have stress, and it affects a lot of people. You can see it in so many people, with it affecting, things like, well, their health. I won't go into actual diagnoses since we, again, are not a medical company. But, stress, like I said before, stress kills. And, overcoming stress is really important. And even the people who think they're incredibly healthy are under an immense amount of stress, whether, like you said, it's the technology or the environment. Our world is really very polluted right now. All sorts of toxins in our food, our air, our water, electromagnetic fields, all of that. So it's pretty amazing. But, if I could get you to kind of give a little bit of the details, if you can share that, with how much the people were taking. And what was so profoundly interesting that I think people need to hear is where the biggest change took place in the study. Can you
Sure.
offer a little bit of that?
Yeah, so the individuals were taking 4 ounces twice daily. The reason that they were taking 8 ounces a day is that's kind of what we see as the upper amount that a lot of people take. Some people take more than that, but on average, there's kind of a 6 ounce amount that we think is really good. There's kind of a 4 ounce amount, which is the minimum that people take, and then there's some that take the 8. And so, because this was primarily a safety study, we wanted to go with a higher amount to be able to prove safety. Anytime that you continually improve the product, you have to periodically do safety studies for re-registration in country, because our manufacturing process changes, right? Those of you who've been with us for a little while remember not too long ago, we increased the concentration of redox signaling molecules by 30%. That was done through a manufacturing change. Again, when you make those changes, you have to do safety studies, again, for registration purposes to confirm safety. So that was the primary goal of this study, but we saw that Aspen Labs had some other capabilities, which is what led to this allostatic load concept. Now, Maureen, your question was about time periods, right? What's really interesting to me is after 60 days, if let's just take IL-1 to keep it simple, we'll just look at one input here. IL-1 beta, after the first 60 days, decreased 16.6%. So good decrease, but between 60 and 120 days, it was an 86.8% decrease. And so the decrease of this inflammatory cytokine, the majority of that decrease happened between 60 and 120 days. Now, what that signals to us is that people need to be on this product for at least 120 days before they can give it a thumbs up, thumbs down. Now, not every individual was feeling what was happening, but certainly their biological system was thanking them, saying, hey, we're doing good. The cytokines are out of here. We're looking squeaky clean as far as my allostatic load is going. So it's really interesting. You see that there's a huge increase. It's almost as if the body gains momentum fighting back on the allostatic load or the stress that it's under after that 60-day mark. The other interesting part of this is the glutathione levels, right? And it's a somewhat difficult concept to illustrate, but I think it's important to talk about to be able to further understand the difference between this product and some other types of products out there. At 60 days, there was an 11% increase in glutathione. Now, remember, glutathione is that bodyguard, right? The bodyguard that protects your cells from oxidative stress, in theory, would assist in lowering the IL-1 beta. So 10.9% increase. And then between 60 and 120 days, during that massive decrease in cytokine levels, you would guess that there would be a commensurate massive increase in glutathione as well, right? Because it takes glutathione to drop cytokines. What you see is a decrease in glutathione.
Diane Carney.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's fine. Now, the reason that this is important is if there is no inflammation in the body, glutathione is not needed, right? And to Lee's point, there is such a thing as too many antioxidants or too many reductive compounds in the body. What's happening here is after you have suppressed the inflammatory cytokines, the glutathione automodulates and decreases itself within the system. The reason that this is different is because there are many health challenges where people will be very concerned about a surplus of glutathione in the body because it can exacerbate some issues. That is the case with glutathione supplementation. When you exogenously or from the outside supplement glutathione, the body has no choice but to use it. When it's creating its own glutathione via signaling pathways, it's able to decrease the amount of glutathione produced once those inflammatory cytokines have been brought under control. And so the automodulation of glutathione happens only through redox signaling pathways in this product rather than an exogenous or, again, supplementation of glutathione from the outside.
Hey, Hunter, let me just interrupt and
Please.
because this is an extremely important point. This is one of the more important differentiating points of what we have versus any other approach out there to the glutathione game. I'm just going to restate in my words what I think I heard you say. Glutathione is made within the body. It's really difficult to supplement it, although it can be. There's 2 or 3 routes that it can come, and there's many companies out there that claim that they are. But the point here is that when anything's coming from the outside, exogenously from outside, if its genesis is outside, it's like top loading. It's like putting a big funnel on your head and just pouring things into your body. You have to deal with those. Think of drugs. When you put drugs on board, the liver has to detoxify them. It has to process them and break them down, and their effect remains on board for a certain half-life. And they have to be detoxified over time until they go away. Well, if I'm stimulating my own glutathione production using bioidentical pathway mechanisms, then to your point, and the point that we made earlier, is that I now have a responsive system. I'm not acting at the behest of an exogenous agent that I top loaded, that I have to do with over time, that has a half-life, and I have no say in it. I just have to run with it. And then the added insult to injury is with other exogenous avenues. You can do this with herbs, it's possible, but it's really more the synthetic nutrients, that are coming on board, the more purified, isolated antioxidants that we put on board. It's like those suppress the very signals that we need to turn on my survival and longevity genes. And that's called reductive stress. We talk about oxidative stress with these reactive oxygen species. We're talking reductive stress, meaning I eliminate the very switch capability that will turn on my own inside endogenous systems. And to me, in all things considered, that one little concept right there is the most important differentiating thing about what we have with Asea.
Hunter, if I agree, and I even understand all that, which is remarkable. But if you go from the 60 to the 120 days and people are doing something else, could that maybe have had a reverse effect on the end result?
What do you
I
mean
know
by
that's a
doing something
hypothetical.
else?
Well, if they did exogenous things,
They probably
Oh,
I mean, it just seems
You're
like
saying
we need
within the study.
with just. I'm asking you to take a hypothesis, just a guess on. You got the 60 to 120 days. Glutathione goes down, cytokines go down. If somebody would have been doing something else, there's so many people that are doing so many
At one
extra
time.
things at one time that I think they're just thoroughly confusing the blankety blank out of their body. And their body, like what Lee is saying, is just getting thoroughly confused. And is it really slowing down the potential healing process of the body? Does that
I
make
see what
sense?
you-
What I'm asking? Or no?
I see. I see what you're saying.
Good. I don't.
What I found what I found is it's very difficult to block the benefits of ASEA because it works upstream of everything. Now, if somebody were on another product that say was a glutathione booster,
Right.
you'd likely still see the decrease in IL-1 beta and IL-6, but you probably wouldn't see the automodulation effect or the decrease in glutathione over that 60 to 120 day period because you'd be supplementing it from the outside and the body can't modulate and decrease glutathione production. It simply is forced to produce glutathione. So you could theoretically achieve different numbers here by being on different products, especially in the glutathione category. I would be surprised to see anything short of a steroid or some sort of clinical or pharmaceutical product be able to achieve the reduction in interleukin 1 beta and IL-6 that we see with the Redox product. Again, not a medical product, but really the numbers that we see here are not available on consumer products.
Is there a guess that beyond 120 days, what is going to continue to happen? I'll never get off this. How long have you been drinking it, Maureen?
13 years. Yeah.
Lee?
7 or 8 now.
Yeah, Hunter?
7 years. I've been with the
Yeah, I
company.
mean, we've
7
been on
years,
it
drinking
10 and a half years. I mean,
Yeah.
if we keep doing this, is it logical to assume you're going to have a stackable benefit that things are going to get
Or we
better and better and better?
we continue to fight the things that it's been fighting in the first place. I mean, I think we all agree that we feel better, we look better, and we don't want to be without the benefits. But I am going to have to ask you, Hunter, to go back and repeat this study because I need to know what the numbers are with 4 ounces a day, and would love to see what the numbers are at 90 days, and maybe to what Jim is saying, maybe at 180 days, 150, 180 days, just to see what happens after that time period. Wouldn't that be, raise your hand or put a 1 in the.
So here's my response to that, Maureen. Based off of the dosing curves that we performed in the NRF2 studies, the dosing curve that we used in NRF2 was the equivalent of 4 ounces a day. And the difference in the dosing curve with the NRF2 study showed that there was little to no difference, at least with the NRF2 portion over time between a 4 and 8 ounce dose. It took longer to get to equilibrium, but it ended up being a similar NRF2 response between 4 and 8 ounces. So it would follow that you would see similar data here on a 4 ounce dose. It may be slightly less, but here's the thing. Eventually, you can't have an 86% decrease time after time after time after time over 10 years, right? Eventually, you get it down to the acceptable level of IL-1 beta and IL-6 because 0 is a number, right? You can't go negative
Right.
on inflammatory cytokines. And so eventually the benefit is not going to be as high as 86% decrease within a 60-day period because there's no more IL-1 beta to decrease, right?
But you're going to be maintaining normal, which
exactly
the majority of people have no clue what freaking normal is.
Exactly. And for those who from a genetic standpoint, now I guess this is probably the right time to talk about this analogy that I use. From an allostatic load standpoint, I like to think of us as a bucket. Okay. Now, our bucket, when we are exposed to stress, fills up with water. Okay. The level's increasing, but lucky for us, we have a genetic component of a pathway, if you will, that has a spigot at the bottom of that bucket and empties the water. Okay. So as stress is pouring in, our pathways are working to pull that liquid out. If you are exposed to more stress than what your genetics are able to address, that water will rise and rise and rise until it overflows. That overflow is representative of a health challenge, the onset of some sort of health challenge. Now, the size of your bucket is dictated by your genetics that are inherited, right? Inherited. You have no control over the size of your bucket. Somebody may be able to be exposed to the same amount of stress as you and not have a challenge that you end up with, right? We have no control over that. But what we do have control over is how fast can that water come out. Redox signaling helps the body to evacuate that water from that bucket faster. So when we talk about the water, right, one example of what that water could be are these cytokines, right? We talk about IL-1 beta and IL-6. We want to keep that water low. And that's what's happening here. Is that allostatic load can be thought of how much water is in your bucket. How close are you to overflowing? And the challenge with that is you don't have a visual way to inspect how big is your bucket and how high is it filled, right? And so it's important that people take this product and stay on this product because you're giving yourself a bigger spigot at the bottom of the bucket. Again, these stressors that we're exposed to in today's modern day are putting a massive allostatic load on us. And our ability to respond to that load, how big is that spigot, is dependent upon our ability to respond at a genetic level and our redox homeostasis, right? Our ability to replenish the redox signaling molecules that are used up in the process of responding to that allostatic load and those stressors.
So is it logical to assume that if you're going through a stressful time, which this is Thanksgiving is coming up, so a lot of families are going to be stressed out. I mean, would it make sense to take more in preparation for, or if you do have an accident or, again, you're in a stressful period, should you take more? I mean, would that not make sense?
Yeah, if you have a higher level of stressors, you may need more of the product. I'd never really thought of that. We're coming into holiday season where we tend to eat a whole lot of inflammatory products.
Not me.
Not Jim.
No,
Jim's on
never.
It may behoove you to increase your amount that you're taking prior to the holiday season. We're exposed to a whole lot of physiological stress with what we, at least in the US, eat during the Christmas season.
Or family that comes in that you may not care for.
Yeah, the mental stress.
Be
definitely.
nice.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
This is what this is speaking to. And, if you're not resilient, if you don't have, I like to think of it as the fire department's capability, its readiness to, move right out of the fire station and respond to a fire alarm. The resiliency or the readiness, the fitness, the capacity, the capability, all those synonyms describe the human body's and the immune system's ability to deal with whatever the insult is that comes along. If somebody sneezes in your face and they have a cold or something like that, or you're just kind of depleted stress-wise and you don't eat right, and it's logical to think that the next bug that comes along, you're going to be a little more susceptible to it. And so this resiliency idea is also a factor in answering your question, Jim, because if I'm resilient and I've exercised and I'm doing the things that keep those pathway genes moving, it stands to reason that I'll be I'll be slower, to fall down or stub my toe or to have a problem if there's an extra threat in the environment around
Yeah.
me.
Or quicker to respond favorably to any kind of an issue.
And respond
Hunter,
faster.
yeah. I'm not sure if we want to talk about this, but I guess I was a little bit confused with the glutathione. And we talked about this when we visited with you not too long ago at home office. And I'm not sure if we want to address it now, but we've got the Redox Gold that we had a study done on a compromised cell that had a significant improvement in glutathione, correct?
Yeah.
And then with it being a human study, we're seeing a 10% boost just with ARS.
Mm-hmm.
Am I correct?
Yeah.
Can you I want to make sure we get clarity that the 280% and the 10%, can you kind of give us some clarity? Because I don't want people out there stating something that isn't accurate. We want this to be accurate information going out.
Yeah, so the important differentiating factor is that these metrics within the Aspen study are blood draws. So this is free glutathione in the system, right? Versus glutathione within the cell, produced by the cell and used in the cell in a local fashion. Right? So when you talk Redox Gold, what is that application? It's a localized application, right? So when you talk about rapid recovery, when we talk about athletic performance and being able to increase the amount of volume you do in a month, that is localized in its application. So of course the numbers are higher. It's an intracellular glutathione level versus a systemic blood level of glutathione.
That makes sense. I think we get some clarity there. Maureen?
Okay, good. I'm glad.
No, yeah, I'm glad you asked that because I was thinking about the study with the increase in the NRF2 and the increase in the glutathione production, but that was the intracellular that we had the electron microscopic photos of and all. This is really amazing, this information. When will this be available for everyone to kind of be able to see the paper and see the study for themselves? I'm sure the company is coming out with a white paper presentation for it. Any news on that?
Not just yet. I am hoping by the end of the year. The initial draft of the white paper is done. It's been reviewed. It's currently with the marketing and sales team for review. There's this little thing called a comp plan that they're busy working on for next year. So it's fallen to a lower priority for them than the other important things in the business that's going on. So it's taking us a little longer to launch it than we'd like, but it's totally understandable. We're at an exciting place in Asea in a lot of areas of the business, and it just falls where it falls from a priority set. But I am hoping to get it out before the end of the year. If not, it'll be shortly after the first of the year, kind of once we've buttoned up all of the to-do items for the comp plan.
Fantastic.
And
If you don't mind, taking a minute and maybe sharing your thoughts on how the field can use this, or how is this best going to arm people? I know those of us who are, medically inclined or nerds or whatever, I love to talk about the science. But as far as the business is concerned, that can be somewhat overwhelming, when you're sharing the information.
Yeah. Well, and I'm not gonna say to go out and invite everybody to go do a blood draw and have them test and do it before and after. But it might be good for those of you who are interested to go and get your cytokine levels tested. Are they low relative your your peers, right, in your age group and in your sex and all of that? But really, there's nothing else out there like this. That's really the key point. For you to be able to have a product that supplements bioidentical redox signaling molecules to the body, the exact same molecules that are made within the mitochondria of the cell, and to increase the body's own natural pathways. We're not biohacking anything that shouldn't be manipulated. We're not exogenously, forcing the body to do something that it wasn't designed to do. This is waking up again that inner doctor to decrease systemic inflammation and systemic oxidative stress, which is known to be the cause of nameless or numberless health challenges, right? And so it's what we're talking about here is central to health and wellness in every single way. Um, and we're all wrestling with it, no matter our age, no matter where we live, no matter what socioeconomic status we're in. We're all wrestling with this right now. We're all exposed to these stressors of the modern world. It affects everybody. There's nobody who's immune to this. And so to have a single solution, I don't know of another solution out there that is capable of addressing that problem that everybody on the planet is exposed to in a way that is completely natural to the body is an amazing opportunity. And it's what gets me up out of bed in the morning and excited to go to work because we're the only ones doing it.
Go ahead.
Yeah, that's exciting. Well, the allostatic load is, that's a big deal topic because we've, talked over the years, glutathione, antioxidants. We've talked, all the things that Asea does. But when people really study how it affects systemic, affects cognitive, affects inflammation, your mitochondrial functioning, it's kind of a given to arm your body with the very molecules that help your body heal itself. And then when we add, we're not even talking about the benefits of Renew 28, which is twice as strong as the oral. Now you're able to give your body extra. Hopefully everyone's using that. And then the benefits of the gold. Now you're arming your body, with just working out, overrunning, whatever. And, many people don't get enough sleep. They don't get enough of other things. They don't use our source or line. So if you could give your body all the things that it's lacking, then now you can fight off these stressors, these things that are overwhelming the body. And don't wait till the crisis shows up. I've always taught prevention, be proactive, do the things daily that you can change. So, you don't have to have, that crisis that maybe your mom and dad is going through. So, this is very exciting. I can't wait for the report to come out.
And then we work with Rose Monday, the Olympic coach. So it's not just, like you said, people that are dealing with anything. It's anybody and everybody. And Hunter, that's what seems really kind of scary now is that with what happened over the last 4 to 5 years, there's so many younger people that are getting serious issues. And that's what's kind of scary right now. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I would. When you look at myocarditis, you look at all of the cardiovascular, particularly challenges that are happening younger and younger. I am a huge believer in the fact that these issues are coming from stressors that we haven't seen before. Again, it all goes back to these environmental stressors that we are not equipped to deal with naturally. At a genetic level, we just simply don't make enough redox resource in order to address all of this. And so you see these imbalances that are happening. Myocarditis is a challenge of imbalance, right? It's closely tied to inflammatory cytokines, right? What did we talk about with the Aspen Labs study? Inflammatory cytokines decreasing. So these challenges in my mind are not going away. If anything, as technology continues to advance, as technology continues to change, the types of stressors that we will be exposed to are only going to become worse and worse, right? They're going to become harder and harder for our, again, prehistoric DNA, right, from generations ago to deal with. And so this product is crucial for anybody at any age living in the modern world.
Yeah.
Wow.
Big,
I'm
big
kind of taking
stuff.
away. Now, I've got a short video, if you guys don't mind, that I would like to play here, and then get y'all's opinion on this. So I'm going to share my screen real quick. It's really touching.
Yeah.
It will be for a lot of us.
Yeah.
Here we go. Turn your volume up.
When we were first getting started, this idea seemed impossible. A product born from salt water? It sounded too good to be true. But then came the science, and the people, and the change you could feel. And so it began. I guess we could have walked away. The easiest thing to do is nothing. But doing nothing doesn't change the world. So we asked a different question. Why not us? Why not us to take this discovery further, to share it with the world? It wasn't about profit. It was about people. It was about health and hope and a belief that nothing is more important than family. When others said, shut it down, we said, not to worry. This was meant to live. From those first bottles to a global family, from one vision to 25 nations, from humble beginnings to a company without debt, built on trust. And along the way, the wisdom that guided us was, if you make money, make memories. Today, all these years later, Asea is more than a business. It's a movement of health, a community of belief, a family that lifts each other higher, and together we carry the same spirit forward. Here's to where we've come from, and the truth is, we're really just getting started.
Quite beautiful.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's hard to not get choked. It's like, oh man.
How does that make you feel, Hunter, to be a part of that? I mean, it's really moving.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the word that comes to mind is legacy, and the sense of stewardship. Um, every executive at ASEA, every member of the senior leadership team, understands the responsibility that we have around this technology, and the impact that it has on people's lives all over the world. ASEA is truly a force for good, and we at the corporate office think about that every day as we go to work. Verdis left a legacy and built this company with this life-changing technology, and I personally feel a stewardship over it. It's my responsibility. It's our responsibility to make sure that we take advantage of this opportunity and share it with everybody that needs it, which is everybody.
Right.
So, Maureen, you were here with Verdis. Can you share what I always ask you to share, which is the ripple effect? But your feelings and your memories of Verdis. And I love when you share the story about when you and your husband, Joaquin, were there and you asked him what was the most amazing testimonial he ever heard. That I will never forget that.
Yeah, that was pretty amazing. We were pretty we were beyond skeptical. We were cynical. And I asked him to share with me, and it's such a charming man. And he just kind of laughed at me and my husband. And my husband, we're both physicians. My husband does a lot of research. And he just chuckled, when we would ask questions, and we were not very open. But I asked him what was his favorite story, and he said it was from someone who had trouble holding her urine with her bladder. And I was like, that seems like an odd story. And he said, well, it has to do with human dignity. And I thought, wow, of all the things, and if you've heard the story about Verdis, you know that he kept a treasure chest of letters that people sent him for all sorts of things. Thank you for bringing this to the public. Thank you for saying no to the money, because we know if he had sold out to the pharmaceutical companies, we may never have heard of this. And just very quickly, because I want Hunter to close this up. It's just Hunter, you're just amazing. Just love everything you say. But the ripple effect, as a physician, I hope I had an impact on a lot of people, on the patients that I saw over the years, but I could only take care of one person at a time. And so you're limited by that. But with this gift that we have to share with other people, you can share it with somebody who can turn around immediately and share it with the people that they love and care about, and they can share it as well. And so it's like dropping a pebble in a pond and just seeing that wave, that little ripple of a wave go and spread larger and larger. And for me, it was amazing to be able to share this with people and have it go all over the world. Just really mind blowing and just so gratifying, personally, professionally, in all sorts of ways. So thank you.
Thank you, Maureen.
Yeah.
Hunter, anything you want to say? Or Lee?
Wrap us up.
Lee, I've said a lot. If you have anything, you take us away.
Well, I would just say it's a pleasure. It's such a privilege and a pleasure to have you with us. You're one of the major foundation spikes. If you're laying a railroad, you need all these spikes in the rails to keep it down, and you're one of those golden spikes that keep the train on the tracks. And so we appreciate what you're doing, as well as I love picking your brain about the science and what you know from the engineering side about what makes this work and why this is valid. And it's nice that you know a lot about the biology as well. So that's great. So thank you for being with us tonight.
This is hard. Jeez.
It's the video.
It is.
Yeah.
But I remember where we were
Yeah.
10 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's not just the human dignity, but it's also financial dignity. And guys, don't forget that. If my best friend would not have brought this to me, he saved my life, but he gave me my financial dignity back, our financial dignity back. If he would not have done that, God is my witness. I know he would have taken care of us, but I don't know where I would be right now. And we owe it to humanity to share this. And I remember Dr. Carmen Keys saying, if you do not share this, you are selfish. Because once you know what we have, and you hear Hunter, you hear Dr. Maureen and Dr. Lee, and all the other things that we've done to pay this thing forward, you cannot deny this. You cannot deny what we have. You owe it, even if you don't believe it. You owe it to people to share it. We do not have the right to keep this technology or the financial opportunity from anybody. And with that, again, I want to say thank you. It is very humbling. It is very emotional because of what we've been able to do to turn our financial situation around. I'm 68 years young, and like I said, I don't know where it would be if Robert Potter had not called me, and he was afraid to call me, Maureen. He was afraid to call me 10 and a half years ago. My best friend was afraid. We get it. Get over the fear. They deserve to hear about it. So with that, I'm sorry, I'll get off my soapbox.
Hey, Jim,
So-
people are asking for the link to the video. Is that something that you can share?
We could put it.
Right now, I have it in I'll send it to you, Maureen. I do have it in my Vimeo channel, jimandglenn.com. I'm sorry, vimeo.com/Jimandglenn. It's there. I will send it to you, Maureen.
Thank
Lee, I'll send it to you. I did get that from Jerem Webb
You should
today.
be able to put it in
Wow.
United as
But-
well.
Um,
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
surprised they haven't
I'll
put it
put it.
up.
Actually, I will put it in Asea United
Yeah.
as well because that
Oh,
is a beautiful video.
Beautiful.
So the amazing Alan Noble will be here with you next week. We have Thanksgiving. America has Thanksgiving the week after. That's on a Thursday, so we will not be here then. Alan then has the next 2 weeks, and then talking about business, Danny Doyle and his crew will be taking the December slot that we have. And this is our last time for this year. We will be back. I can't believe it, in 2026. So we're just paying it forward. Help us pay it forward. So guys, thank you. We all love you.
Appreciate you,
We
Hunter.
will get that video up and out, and I'll send it to whoever. Just let me know. Thank you, guys. This video will be
so
up
much.
at this video will be up at redoxmatters.com within what, Lee, an hour or so.
No, it'd be a few. I've got another meeting here, so but it'll be on later tonight.
Thank you, Hunter, so much. I really
Bye,
appreciate it.
everybody.
Appreciate you.
God
Thanks,
bless
Hunter.
everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Happy everything, you guys. Love you.
Yeah,
Next year.
yeah,
Bye bye.
that's right. Happy holidays.